I never really even saw myself leaving Phoenix. It was my new home away from home. I have a great off-court situation. I've built a lot of fun relationships out there. And yeah, I was like, hey, like, what do we need? No, come on, how do you get out of here? But it's funny now that, you know, I told the people upstairs, I was like, I will be her Sabrina Carpenter any day to her Taylor Swift.
I never really envisioned myself leaving Phoenix. It had become my second home, a place where I built strong relationships and had an amazing off-court life. I kept thinking, what do we need to do to stay? But here we are, and now I've told the folks upstairs I'll be her Sabrina Carpenter any day to her Taylor Swift. Sophie Cunningham has officially joined forces with Caitlin Clark, and let's be real, this is the duo Fever fans have been dreaming about.
Saw a little clip of you on WNBA. You know where I'm going. WNBA All-Star Game.
Oh, this is a good clip, okay? I was like, where is she going with this?
Now, another Indiana Fever player, soon to be teammate, Caitlin Clark. Have you heard of her? You happened to have a little interaction with her, and it was said that you were potentially asking her to come to Phoenix.
I totally was.
And maybe the joke was on us, because maybe she was asking you to come to the Fever?
No, maybe I just put an atmosphere and it happened. But how funny is...
While Indiana is busy celebrating their newest enforcer, someone else is fuming, Nelissa Smith. That's right. Smith and her partner in pettiness, DiJonai Carrington, just got shipped off to Dallas like an unwanted return package. Smith talked a big game, but in reality, her toxic energy was weighing the Fever down. Now, she's gone, and in her place, Sophie Cunningham has arrived to clean up the mess. Call it karma, call it common sense. Either way, it's a huge win for Indiana.
But if you're talking strictly hoops, what a fantastic pickup for Indiana. You want to talk about a player that can slot right in with Kelsey Mitchell and with Caitlin Clark on the perimeter and start more than likely in that Lexi Hole spot. The defense that she brings, like the tenacity that she brings, she is the exact type of player that you want next to your two guards who are just so offensive heavy in this.
Cunningham has been vocal for months about wanting to play with Caitlin Clark. Unlike some players who see Clark's rise and start throwing shade, Sophie actually understands the bigger picture. She respects Clark. She recognizes a generational talent when she sees one. Instead of being bitter, she's ready to build something great alongside her.
You went and kind of swatted at Caitlin. Did you intend to hit her in the eye? And if so, could you just, or if not, either way, could you talk about what happened on that play?
I don't even know why I would intend to hit anybody in the eye. That doesn't even make sense to me. But no, I didn't. I didn't know I hit her, actually. I was trying to make a play on the ball, and I guess I followed through and I hit her. So obviously it's never intentional. That's not even like the type of player that I am.
From the start, Cunningham has watched Clark dominate the WNBA, and rather than being envious, she's shown nothing but admiration. Because true hoopers know, when you have a once-in-a-lifetime talent like Caitlin, you don't fight it, you build around it. From a purely basketball perspective, this is an outstanding pickup for Indiana.
I am so excited for this. I just think, honestly, she's just a great human too. She has a lot of pressure and a lot of eyes on her shoulders, and she handles it so gracefully, and she's just a great human. So I'm just excited to be a part of something like that, and she passes the ball, which I enjoy.
Sophie Cunningham slides in seamlessly, next to Kelsey Mitchell and Caitlin Clark on the perimeter. More than likely, she'll start in that Lexi Hull spot, bringing defensive intensity and the grit this team needs. The Fever's front office finally listened. They realized what fans had been saying for months. Nelissa Smith wasn't the future. She was the problem.
Ow! Oh, I'm sorry. You poked me in the eye.
You're an 8-year-old.
You did?
I did not poke you. Did you do it on purpose? I did not poke you in your eye. You did it on purpose? I hit the knee. That was my reflex. It looked like you were just laughing.
Her attitude? Off. Her hustle? Questionable. Her respect for Clark? Practically non-existent. There's a difference between being competitive and being disruptive, and Smith was the latter. The Fever are building around Clark, and if you're not on board with that, you're getting left behind. And let's not forget about Carrington. More known for cheap shots and social media antics than her contributions on the court.
Why does everybody hate Caitlin Clark? And do you hate Caitlin Clark? Come on, talk to me.
Absolutely not. I think that she's a gem. I didn't know her, but All-Star Weekend, we kind of bantered back and forth a little bit. And she's lovely. She has a lot of pressure on her shoulders. And I think a lot of people always have a lot to say with people they don't even know or shoes they've never been in. And for me, I think she's handling the pressure very well. She's doing a lot of great things for women's basketball. And I'm a fan. Like, I would love to play with her one day. For real.
She was. Right there when Clark got poked in the eye like it was some kind of WWE match. That wasn't defense. That was desperation. And Smith? She stood by and let it happen. No leadership, no support. Just bad energy. It's no surprise Indiana decided to move on.
What is that? It might not be from you, but like what is the, I mean, it feels almost, it's not hate, but is it jealousy? Is it envy? Is it just like, what is it?
Yeah, I see both sides. I'm not an extremist in any way.
Yeah.
And so I like to see both sides of each party. I think when you have older people in the league, they work their tails off and they didn't get the recognition. They don't get paid millions of dollars before they even step on the court. You know what I mean? And for them, it's all about, okay, well, what are your stats? What are you doing for the actual game? Like, while you're playing.
Yeah.
And then
Meanwhile, Sophie Cunningham is exactly what this team needed. Toughness, resilience, and most importantly, respect. She's not just here to play. She's here to help build something special with Clark. She understands the importance of uplifting a generational talent rather than competing for attention. That's the mindset of a winner, and Fever fans are already loving it. They're done with drama. They want players who are ready to work, ready to win, and ready to ride with Clark to the top.
Nelissa Smith is confused as to why Indiana Fever fans don't want her on their team. And it's really not that hard to understand, Nelissa. Let me tell you why. We don't even need to take into account any of your social media outbursts. We don't need to take into account any of your sub-tweets. We don't need to take into account any of your drama-chasing antics off the court. We don't need to take into account your passive-aggressive ways. You're removing the Indiana Fever one day in your bio, adding them in the next day in your bio, tweeting other people's tweets. We don't even need to take into account all the unnecessary drama and garbage that you add to this team when it comes off the court. All we really need to do is sit back and watch you on the court. It's really not that hard of a concept to grow.
The trade that sent Nelissa Smith packing wasn't met with tears or tributes. No heartfelt goodbyes, no emotional Instagram posts, and definitely no team video package highlighting her best moments. Because, let's be honest, there weren't many. Instead, fans let out a collective sigh of relief, like someone had finally cracked open a window to let out the bad air.
This is amazing for women's basketball. This is amazing for women's sports in general. You have so many people, so many new and fresh eyes on our sport that maybe they're a little uneducated and maybe they kind of stir the pot a little bit. And so I get that. But for that class to come in, you have her.
What does Bonner's addition now mean for the Fever's title potential?
I think the Indiana Fever, with the addition of DiJonai Bonner, after already adding Natasha Howard and Sophie Cunningham, are now in the championship conversation, along with the New York Liberty, the Minnesota Lynx, and the Las Vegas.
It's not that Smith lacked talent. She just never fit into what Indiana was building. Whether it was lazy defense or passive-aggressive social media posts, it was clear she wasn't all in. The Fever, on the other hand, are now forming something special. DiJonai Bonner's arrival is massive. A veteran presence, elite scoring ability, defensive versatility, and championship experience.
We are free from Nelissa Smith. Nelissa Smith no longer on the Indiana Fever. Kelly Krauskopf came in and said, "Oh, you gotta go."
Sophie Cunningham is not going to put up with the hate and the bullying Caitlin Clark has been receiving throughout the WNBA, because we know last year that was a big target for Caitlin Clark, was to get an enforcer. And like I keep telling y'all, Kelly Cristobal is not messing around.
Natasha Howard, a defensive anchor, Kelsey Mitchell, a scoring machine. And now, Sophie Cunningham adds grit and leadership to the mix, all without giving up Aaliyah Boston, their dominant center, or Lexi Hull, their 3-and-D specialist. Oh, and let's not forget, Caitlin Clark is still Caitlin Clark, the best player in the league and the future of the sport. And here's the thing, this roster isn't just about stacking talent.
I'm really trying here not to crash out, okay? I can't take too much more. I just said the other day, what did I say? Another bomb is Sunday. I said, this isn't it. You know, I can't wait to see what the next bomb would be. Didn't know this would be the bomb. Stephanie White ain't playing fair. I have to say it again. Stephanie White is not playing fair. She on one.
It's about building chemistry. Every player brought in complements Clark's skill set and aligns with the team's vision. Sophie spreads the floor. Bonner is a matchup nightmare. Howard locks down the paint. Mitchell lights it up from deep. This isn't just a team looking to make the playoffs. It's a team built to go on a deep run.
Forgot to mention Nelissa Smith is gone. If you're the Fever, how great do you feel about that? My goodness. Like, finally. I got frustrated watching her play, and she represented, I think, the remnants of anything else that was wrong with the team, right? From the Christie Sides era and everything. And last year was a good year, all things considered. Wish her the best. But I actually think the Fever get great return here, considering I don't know where all these people think Nelissa Smith's value was so high all of a sudden, given the way she played.
This season, Indiana is done being an afterthought. They're done with the negativity and done with players who weren't fully invested. Now, they're focused, united, and hungry. Stephanie White and the Fever front office have orchestrated an incredible offseason, keeping the core intact while adding firepower. And at the center of it all?
She goes to the wings, gets a fresh start. Hopefully that works out for her. Arike Ogunbowale has already welcomed Nelissa Smith there. So that's part of this trade also. So you get these, a lot of moving parts here, because that's something a lot of people had anticipated and thought that the Fever were going to move on from Smith. And when Howard came in, it felt like, okay, Howard is taking her spot. And now Smith is no longer there to have a spot in the starting lineup or off the bench.
Caitlin Clark, the face of the league, the reason Indiana went from WNBA afterthought to must-watch basketball. No more tension, no more side eyes toward Clark's success. The Fever are finally moving as one unit. And when the season tips off, they'll be ready to prove that this isn't just hype. It's the beginning of something special. Sophie Cunningham isn't here to tolerate the bullying Caitlin Clark has faced.
But I think especially Caitlin Clark, and I'm a huge fan, and I never say that, but I think it's fun what she's doing. When it comes to viewership, man, I think a lot of people have a lot to learn about our league, but I think that's a really fun thing. And if you have really anything negative to say about all the viewership and everything that this rookie class is doing, I just think that you're not capitalizing on it, and you might be a little jealous. So for me, I'm all for it. I'm about it. I love all this stuff.
In DiJonai Bonner, the Indiana Fever have signed one of the all-time greats who brings major big game experience to Indiana along with her. Bonner is a two-time WNBA champion and quite literally the most experienced postseason player ever. Her 87 playoff games are more than any player in WNBA history.
She's here to put an end to it. With Cunningham as the enforcer, players like Kennedy Carter and Angel Reese are on notice. Those cheap shots won't fly anymore. If you put your hands on Caitlin, you'll have to answer to Sophie. And let's not overlook what Cunningham brings on offense. Her three-point shooting will space the floor like never before. defenses won't be able to collapse on Clark because if they do, Sophie is waiting in the corner, locked and loaded. With a revamped roster, elite leadership, and a clear vision, Indiana is no longer just a playoff team. They're a championship contender. So while Nelissa Smith updates her Instagram bio and Carrington plans her next unnecessary foul,
It's going to be Caitlin Clark Flash Show. So it's going to be phenomenal playing with a point guard, like you said, that have a good vision on the court, because that's like as soon as she get the ball in her hand, she's throwing it up because she already see the person down the court before she even get the ball in her hand. So that's one thing I love about her vision on the court. I really can't wait to catch all those passes and give her all the assists that she needs.
And Sophie Cunningham still spaces the floor. They added so much floor spacing in this free agency with Sophie and with Natasha. Like, the amount of room that Aaliyah Boston is going to have to operate for Indiana is absolutely insane.
The Fever are gearing up to make serious noise, and you better believe Sophie Cunningham is leading that charge because she didn't come here to babysit egos. She came to win. And with Caitlin Clark by her side, that's exactly what they're going to do. Indiana fans no longer have to endure watching a player coast through games with zero passion. Those days are gone. This roster is filled with winners, players who respect the game, their teammates, and the fans. The Fever are back, stronger than ever. The future? It's glowing. The championship window? Wide open. And it all started by cutting the dead weight and adding players who truly care.